In this video, I'd like to revisit the topic of blood cells. And because we've already looked at antigens and antibodies, we can take that topic and consider blood types. If we consider this as a red blood cell, we already know that red blood cells have hemoglobin on them. They have carbonic anhydrase on them. We also know that cells have antigens, and some of these antigens are combinations of protein and short carbohydrate chains, and others are combinations of carbohydrate chains on the lipids, but they do give us the ability to recognize self from non-self. Antigens are genetic in origin. These ones are certainly not foreign antigen. They have to be there. They are our own, they are self. If we think about blood types, we recognize that blood types are, the one you may be familiar with is blood type A, B. You could have a blood type AB or an O. This is called the ABO system. So this one simply refers to A antigens, this one to B antigens. This blood type AB, there's both of the A and B antigens present on the blood cells. And the blood type O simply means there's no antigens there. These antigens, being genetic, are produced by genes. There are 3 different genes responsible for this system. And 3 gene alleles. They are given these abbreviations. This gene allele produces the A antigen. This gene allele produces the B antigen. This gene allele produces neither. The A or the B. Each individual has 2 gene alleles for each characteristic. So any given person could have any combination of 2 of these. So a person could have 2 of those genes. They're both dominant. This person would be blood type A. These are the phenotypes then, these are the genotypes. A person could also have blood type A if they had the dominant gene allele for producing that antigen, and the recessive that doesn't produce either. So their cells would still have the A antigen on them. Blood type B similarly could have 2 dominant genes to produce the B antigen, or 1 dominant and 1 recessive, but it would still produce the B antigen. AB, that person has both. This is an example of codominance, where both alleles produce their protein, so that person has antigen A and antigen B on their blood cells. And these people here would have neither. Oops, sorry, they have this genetic combination, homozygous recessive. They have neither antigen A nor B on their blood cells. During a person's daily lives, they could pick up something which generates antibodies in their system. It's just like any infection. So we have to consider what kind of antibodies might be present in a person with blood type A. That person could have antibody B in their blood. Just looking at the ABO system. could be antibody B. A person with blood type B could have antibody A in their plasma. A person with blood type AB would have neither of these. And a person with blood type O could very well have both. Antibody A and B. And this is why blood type has to be considered during a transfusion or during an organ transplant or tissue transplant. It's because if the blood or the tissues themselves have to be donated between people, then the antibodies and antigens have to be donated in a compatible way. So for example, a person with blood type B, a person with this combination here, could never give blood to a person with blood type A. It would be lethal because antibody A would react with the antigen A on that person's red blood cells and cause agglutination. So the person's blood would agglutinate, and if you remember, agglutination is that reaction between antibodies and antigens. It would look the same. If these are red blood cells, you get the antibodies bonding onto them and forming a network which would basically destroy the ability of these red blood cells to move through the body and to function. A mass like that, a agglutinated mass like that, would never get through the capillaries, for example. So that can cause death. So some transfusions are acceptable and others are not. So if we're looking at the phenotypes themselves now, just here, you could always, a person with blood type A could always donate to another person with blood type A. B is compatible to itself, and AB to itself, and O to itself. But there's something else we have to recognize, that if we're going to donate blood, a person with neither antibody in their blood, that means that there's no danger, there's no antibodies, there's no danger of this agglutination. This one is known as a universal donor, because there's no antibodies, there's no problem that this sort of a process could occur. These ones here, because there's both antibodies present, that means to donate blood from a person with blood type A or a person with blood type B, it doesn't really matter because they've already got those antibodies anyway. So these ones are universal recipients. The other part of this story has to relate to what's actually in the blood that's being donated, or what's in the what's in the blood. What is a blood donation? It's possible that plasma is being donated. So if it's the plasma that's being donated, this antibody story is critically important. But it's also possible that whole blood is being donated. So again, not only is what's present floating around in the plasma, but also what cells are being donated. So the whole topic becomes critical. At the same time, blood donations may only be donating red blood cells or platelets. It depends on what the person's requirements are, what the person's needs are. Before we leave the topic, I just want to mention that this ABO system is only one of, there's over 30 systems. There's an MNO system, there's a K factor, there's a Duffy system. There's one other component to this system too, and that's an RH factor. The RH comes from the rhesus monkey. Its name comes from the rhesus monkey. And it's because of the presence of an antigen D. So we have an antigen A, an antigen B, we have an antigen D. And this situation is that you either have it or you don't. So it's either you have it or you don't have it. I know my blood type. I am blood type O, and I don't have this, I'm O negative. That happens to be the most common blood type. The rarest one in the ABO system is AB positive. Thank you very much.